Scott Morrison sure has the anti-Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to shit. You wouldn't know it from the corporate media coverage because the latest is PM's push to help low-income earners with free COVID tests. That's a backflip, of course, from 24 hours earlier when the same newspaper, The Australian, was saying, no, people should be paying for these, not the government. In fact, it is our money that they are stewards of, and we pay for these things like healthcare through taxes anyway. But what's actually happening here is the collapse of government. When they said let it rip, they were right. They let it rip, and now it's ripped. Government is ripped. Testing, tracking of COVID, that's crashed. The hospital system is at the brink. Nursing homes are locking down, so old people are going to have to die alone again. Everything is crashing. Businesses again are going out of business, except, of course, for the government's corporate allies like Harvey Norman and Discount Chemist Warehouse, who are profiteering from COVID tests from the rapid antigen test kits. Have you noticed the things that the government doesn't control are going fine? The cricket's doing well, we're thrashing the Poms. The ASX is almost at record levels, the share market's going well. Things that the government does control, however, things like the health system, the welfare of its own people, things like the debt, taxes are at the highest level ever under this government. The nursing home system, defence spending, and the submarine deal that isn't actually a deal, all botched. And Scott Morrison was telling Seven Sunrise Show, a very friendly media organisation for the government, that somebody has to pay. That's why we can't make these things free.
But we're now in a stage of the pandemic where you can't just make everything free, because when someone tells you they want to make something free, someone's always going to pay for it, and it's going to be you.
Well, somebody already has paid. It's called the taxpayers. The taxpayers who forked out $40 billion to large corporations that didn't need it. Where's our Gucci handbag? Where's our washing machine from Harvey Norman? So there's no money, apparently, to pay for this thing, even though the Reserve Bank's printed more than $300 billion in new, fresh, free money, even though there's $16 billion parked by the government to bribe the various marginal electorates to get them through the next election. Of course, the problem for them is now that even with the kowtowing of the corporate media, the obescent, tamed media, even with their support now, this thing's gone too far because, of course, everybody now knows somebody with COVID. Everybody has a COVID story. I'm sitting here with a toothache, with the side of my face throbbing. I can't go to the dentist because it's absolute emergencies only, and the dentists are hardly going to be opening up, welcoming you in with 35,000 new COVID infections in New South Wales alone today. Everybody now has a COVID story. Now, the Omicron variant of COVID might not be as deadly, as toxic as the Delta variant, but these things are springing up all around the world. They're mutating. There's a new one in France called IHU. Now, what could the government have done, possibly, to handle this crisis better? Well, it could have simply looked at what was going on overseas. This is not rocket science. You ask the scientists, you take expert opinion, you follow the health advice, and you act on it. They had ample warning. They had all the offshore experience, all the experience of 200 other countries to look at. What did they do? They completely bungled it, and they have left the Australian people in a bad way. They have failed in their primary responsibility as a government to keep the people safe. That is the first responsibility of government, whether it's in defence or whether it's in health. So when Scott Morrison says,
someone's always going to pay for it,
will Scott Morrison and the Let It Rip Brigade be paying for it themselves at the next election? When will Scott Morrison do his job and take personal responsibility for the disaster which is government in Australia at the moment?